Welcome to Incidentia Brief, your channel for cybersecurity analysis spoken clearly. Today we examine a vulnerability in a satellite component, and more importantly, how to read its severity honestly. The flaw is real, but it is narrow, and the loudest version of this story circulating online is simply false. So let's start with the threat model, not the headline. To exploit this bug, an attacker needs direct physical access to the device, not a network connection, not an internet-facing port, hands-on hardware. That single condition deflates the framing you may have seen, the idea that satellites are being hacked from the internet. That is not what this is. The component is the CubeSpace CW0057 reaction wheel. A reaction wheel controls a satellite's attitude, its orientation in space. Spin the wheel one way, and the spacecraft turns the other. This is how a small satellite points its antenna, its camera, or its solar panels. It is quiet, essential infrastructure. According to reporting on the advisory, the CW0057 is a compact wheel, around 115 grams, providing roughly 5.7 millinewton-meter-seconds of angular momentum, with integrated electronics and magnetic shielding. That specification is single-sourced, so treat it as indicative rather than confirmed. What is confirmed matters more. Deployment is worldwide in the communications critical infrastructure sector from a vendor headquartered in South Africa. Now the actual bug. Per CISA advisory ICSA 26-183-02, firmware versions before 5.0.20 verify updates using only a CRC32 check. Here is the whole vulnerability in one sentence. CRC32 confirms that an image arrived intact. It does not confirm who sent it. That distinction is everything. CRC32 is error detection. It catches accidental corruption from a noisy transfer. It was never designed to prove authenticity. Without a cryptographic signature, the device cannot tell a legitimate update from a malicious one. So an attacker with physical access could upload arbitrary firmware, and the wheel would accept it as valid. That is the improper verification of a cryptographic signature this advisory describes. Let's calibrate severity. The flaw is tracked as CVE-2026-13743, with a CVSS v3 base score of 6.1 and a CVSS v4 base score of 3.3. Those are medium and low. Some will find that surprising for a satellite component. It shouldn't be. Severity is a function of exploitability conditions, and here those conditions are demanding. Consider the factors. Physical access only, no remote vector, no public exploitation reported to CISA, and recoverability. According to secondary reporting, which I'd flag as unconfirmed, the bootloader runs independently of the application firmware and can reload a known good CubeSpace image. If accurate, that means this method cannot permanently brick the unit. A defensible 6.1, not an emergency 9.8. But here is the trap. CubeSpace released firmware 5.0.20, which introduces cryptographically verified secure boot. Good, except the protection is not enabled by default. Operators must manually activate signed boot functionality. Read that again. Patching alone does not close the gap. Installing 5.0.20 and stopping there leaves the door exactly as open as before. So the action item is concrete. Update to 5.0.20, then explicitly enable signed boot. Verify it is active. Control physical access to hardware during integration and ground handling. And confirm your recovery path with vendor-supplied images. This is a practitioner task, not a checkbox. Patched is not the same as protected until you turn the control on. Now the misinformation call-out. The website Windows News. AI published a separate identifier. CVE-2026-38214, claiming a CVSS 9.8, a network-based attack vector requiring no privileges, and persistent remote control of a spacecraft's attitude system. There is no credible sourcing for that variant. It appears fabricated. It inverts every real constraint of the actual flaw, turning a physical access, recoverable, medium-severity issue into an internet-born catastrophe. This is how space and operational technology advisories get distorted into panic. A quiet, technical CISA document becomes a screaming headline. And I'll add a sourcing caveat that applies broadly here. In this case, some secondary coverage appears to closely echo the CISA advisory. Even the researcher credit, reportedly Anthony Rose, is single-sourced. When one outlet is the only origin of a detail, hold it loosely. So the takeaway: severity is a function of exploitability, not the scariness of the target. A satellite part sounds alarming, but physical access, non-remote exploitation, and recoverability place this squarely at medium. Verify claims against the primary advisory. And remember the practitioner rule this episode is built on. Patched is not protected until you enable the control. Thanks for watching Incidentia Brief. Read the source, calibrate the risk, and act on the real gap.